a scuba diving tour.
Exactly.
Scuba base.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to get when you tune into the podcast. You get scuba diving lessons at this point.
Yeah, I love it. Scuba diving with Paulo. Awesome. I love it, man.
The David Ellefson Show. Featuring Grammy Award winner David Ellefson and respected metal journalist Joshua Toomey. Presented by EllisonEmporium.com. Here's David and Joshua.
We all know Paulo from Sepultura, so naturally, inquiring minds want to know what they're doing as they're wrapping up their, was their 40th anniversary, but it's as time moves on. But also, Cultura Tres, which I love that band, and I got to know them when Frank Bello and I had Altitudes and Attitudes / kindly put us on some shows over here in 2019.
Yeah.
And we played at their bar. Alejandro and Paulo own this cool bar up in Amsterdam called the BRO20. And it's basically like a vinyl record bar, very chill, very cool as things are in Amsterdam. And then I went, that was where I discovered Cultura Tres. And then, interestingly enough, they asked me to fill in for Paulo last year because he had some commitments with Sepultura. So we played Bloodstock. They didn't want to cancel it. Obviously, that's a big look. It's a big festival. So I said, yeah, no problem. I was back and forth between Europe down to so with Dieth, we did some shows with KK's Priest. Then I went down to Australia with Kings of Thrash. Then I went to Alejandro's house to basically dig in, fine tuning the songs. And a couple weeks later, we're on stage at Bloodstock. So yeah, it was. And I'll tell you what, they were not easy songs to learn. It's a style of music that was very different for me, some music you absorb quickly. It just sort of sinks right in. Their music has a lot of diversity. It has a Sepultura-ish sound. Then there's this kind of classic rock thing about it. So there's a lot of different lanes, if you will, And, again, I love this idea of musical forgery where you're basically learning how to play like somebody else
a lot. Like I was sitting there, I didn't know where you were going with that. And I was like, oh, I like that a lot where you kind of talk about, you're trying to learn how to write like the person. And I was like, it makes a lot of sense, trying to learn other people's stuff. And, I was thinking about this the other day. How many songs do you think you've learned over the years? I mean, filling in for Overkill and just, there's just even the Metal Allegiances and, all the Megadeth songs that you wrote. And just like, I was just like, God bless. How many songs has David?
Dude, my hard drive is full. There are sometimes, man, and I played on a couple of things that are still in the queue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That'll, and it's like, man, there are times when my brain feels like it's just smoking, you know what I mean? Because, and even this year there's a lot of stuff, between the, Bass Warrior, some new Kings of Thrash stuff, Ellefson Soto record, Black Sabbath events.
You're gonna have to fill in for me on the Primer 55 tour. I can't do,
Yeah, you got a whole bunch of dates, so I'll be filling in on that. So, and then more Kings of Thrash stuff, and then you got the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp coming up with Alice Cooper and Rob Halford. And of course, I already know I could probably just walk right on stage and play Judas Priest songs because I'm such a fan. You know what I mean?
Right.
A lot of the Alice songs, they take a little bit of work because it's a different style. And it's music I grew up on. So fortunately, I know some of the songs. You hear them on the radio, but to deep dive with a bass in hand and really learn the parts. And so, yeah, I've, yeah, man, my library and my brain is it's pretty full. I'm not gonna lie, but I like it. I like having my own songs, my own material. Yet learning some other people's stuff. For what I like about it, because they're hiring you because you're you to come and play these parts, right? So it's I always admired great cover bands growing up, people that could really sound like the record. And I realized early on, as much as I played and I had my cover bands and stuff growing up, that was never going to be my path. That I could play the stuff, but for some reason I had my own sound, and I feel very blessed that I went to Hollywood after high school, and Dave and I met. We started our own band, And, I could really create my own, with my own style and my own signature, I could really create a voice on the bass, and have that really be mine. And then there's times when you play on certain records for people, or you come into a gig to even play, you kind of need that, your voice to move to the background a little bit, so that, you're not in the way, like say Metal Allegiance, if you're playing Van Halen or you're playing Accept or whatever, there's a lot of things we have similarities to our styles, but you don't want it just slathered with your name all over. You kind of want to fade your personality behind the song, so that the song gets the attention,
Yeah, there's nothing. It was funny doing that new metal thing a couple of years ago. It was the first time that I really sat down and like played covers with people. Like in any band I'd ever joined, it was all an original. It was always an original band, or hey, we need a bass player for this or that, and getting together and learning a bunch of different styles all for one show was the first time I'd really ever done that, and it was kind of fun. Yeah, because we even did like the big Evanescence song, and on paper that sounds like no fun, but like when you listen to it and you hear what the bass player is doing, I'm like, oh, he's doing a lot of cool runs behind everything and stuff like that. So it was actually probably my favorite song to play that night, even though it was on paper not the one I was the most excited about.
Yeah. Great bass lines. I learned this being in the studio, and of course, as we were even writing Megadeth songs. And I guess I probably learned this from playing tenor saxophone in orchestra band. You sit in the middle of the orchestra, right? So you hear everything around, right? You hear the flutes up front shredding like the lead guitar players, and the tuba behind you, right? And everything around you. And you realize you're all playing the same song, but you all have a different part in the song. And I liked, especially as we were writing the Megadeth stuff, there was always, every part was very different. I likened it a lot to, Bach and Beethoven and Mozart, like composing symphony type of composition style, right?
Yeah.
Where everything had a very unique part. And then as I started to, get in the studio and work with producers over the years, and you're really writing bass lines, probably one of the first ones was Garth Richardson,
Right.
who they say that because he had the stuttering thing. So that
Yep.
he literally, that was his name, was GGGGGARTH, right? And he did the demos, the first round of demos with me and Dave and Chuck Beeler for the first 3 songs that we demoed up for Rust in Peace after, so this was late 1988. It was Holy Wars, which was done in its entirety, the music to Tornado of Souls, which had a different lyric, and the music and lyrics to Polaris. It was not yet called Rust in Peace Polaris. Or Polaris Rest in Peace. It was just Polaris, but same lyrics, same music. I think those are on, those couple of tracks I think are
I think
on
those
like
came out,
War Chest or something.
Release.
Yeah. But that middle part in Holy Wars, right? When that right? And Garth actually helped, he composed that part. He said, he goes, hey, how about instead of just always, the song is such a fury the whole way through, there's no other real option but to just play, right? So I just, kind of mimic the guitar line. But he said, he goes, okay, in this part, let's create something different. And that was probably the first time that I ever had anybody outside the band, like as a producer, who would sort of get my mind around composing a part that was very different,
Right.
my own line. And, there's a great line, there's a great song that we have with Dieth, Mark of Cain, which is just this blistering fast part. One day I should do a breakdown on it, because the bass line, I had to relearn it because I forgot what I recorded. So I get the stems and I'm relearning it to go tour a couple years ago. And when I listened to it, I went, that's what I played. And it's like this, meanwhile, everything's like right. Everything's and it made sense, because I had this theory that as the guitars and drums are blazing, the bass needs to be simple. If the guitars and drums are simple, the bass can be blazing, so it made sense that I would play it like that. But even that, our producer Christian Cole helped craft. He just got me thinking in a different direction. Like, okay, let's create something different here, something a little more simple, a little more rudimentary, something that anchors the parts down. So as it plays to learning Paulo's parts for Cultura Tres, it was kind of the same thing, really digging into a friend, a contemporary in our genres, digging into his style and understanding, what he was doing. So, yeah.
After interviewing Max yesterday, I actually went on the drive down. I threw on Mars, because he was so excited about that bass line and everything. He's like, "You took that thing for a walk through the woods," and I threw it on. I was like, I remembered what he was talking about, but like going back and listening to it again, I was like, "Oh yeah, it was some cool shit, man." It was fun to listen to.
Yeah, good. I actually need to pull that up again too. I should give that a listen here. So, all right. Well, look, let's get into it with Alejandro and Paulo and their band Cultura Tres. Let's do it. So, hey, everybody, David and Josh here, and just want to let you know about Rockabilia, our new partners here on the show, and you can visit them and enter David10 for 10% off on any of your purchases. So, some cool stuff they have there, Josh.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome company. I mean, if you're of my generation of the, we go to the magazine aisle, and when it was a print magazine, and Rockabilia was in every Metal Edge and Metal Maniacs and whatever else, and you would circle every Megadeth T-shirt you wanted, or Metallica or Slayer or whatnot. So super pumped to have Rockabilia on with the David Ellefson Show. And just a few things. They've got over 500,000 items over at rockabilia.com, including staples like the Master of Puppets shirts, Rest in Peace shirts. They do limited edition exclusive drops each month. And the one thing that they wanted to stress was everything is 100% authentic. No bootlegs over there at rockabilia.com. So that's obviously a plus there too.
Cool. So the money goes where it's supposed to go. So, all right. Excellent. All right. So check it out. Rockabilia, David 10 for 10% off. Check it out. Rockabilia.com. Well, welcome to the show. It's funny because I thought the three of us would be over here in Europe, me in Germany, and the two of you guys up in Amsterdam. But then I find out last night that Paulo, you ended up flying to LA. So
yeah, I
we
had
are.
to come to do a very quickly stop to do some business. I'll be back in Amsterdam in about a week for a day and fly back to Brazil.
So, we obviously, you and I have known each other since, I guess, I first saw you play Rock in Rio
Right.
in 1991, and then we became friends over the years. Dieth just played with you guys a couple years ago. But I think one of the interesting things, you came to the show when me and Frank Bello, we had our band Altitudes and Attitude, and we played with Slash in Amsterdam. And then you guys invited, you invited us to your bar, the BR020, to come and play at your, should I call it a vinyl bar? Is that how you guys are known?
Sure, you can say that.
Okay.
Why not?
Yeah, okay.
They
So
just
we go
specialize in vinyl, so we only play vinyl.
So we go to your bar, which I thought was so cool that you owned a bar. And of course, there I meet Alejandro, and who's, kind of get everything set up. And Frank and I, with our guitar player, Andy Martingelli, we did an acoustic set there, and was super freaking cool, man, right there on one of the canals and everything. And it was from there that I learned about this other band that you guys have called Cultura Tres, which I immediately fell in love with. I thought it was so cool. I love the tunes. And then, of course, it was about a year ago. I was over at Alejandro's house. Literally in that room where all the amps are is a bed. That's actually a bedroom. True metal. And that was where I slept, was in that bedroom. And you and I spent a few days going over the songs so that I could fill in for Paulo as he was off doing Sepultura dates elsewhere in the world. And then we went up to Bloodstock together. And of course, I got the chance to play in a band that I really liked called Cultura Tres. But yeah, how did the band come together outside of you guys? You guys are like your business owners together. You have a band together, all the rest of that. Just give us a little backstory on all that.
Good one. When did that started, man? I remember it was in LA. The first time that I heard Paulo saying like, because, yeah. Now let's try to put it together. We had a problem with our drummer. You know, I was playing with my brother. We had this band was like originally like a kind of a doom metal band, and we were playing very slow music and really kind of atmospheric music. But we're kind of done with that sound, and we were trying to do something new at the time. And then we couldn't find musicians to do that. Me and my little brother, who's the other guitar player of the band. So at the time, the guy that was the friend of ours that was kind of jamming with us with bass, he said like, well, we can never find drummers, so I'm gonna have to play drums. And he switched to drums. And I was on the phone with that friend of ours, Alonso, when we were talking about that. And I remember Paulo saying like, yeah, well, Alonso's gonna play drums. And it's like, yeah, well, he's gonna try. And then he said, who's gonna play bass? And so it's like, wow, we got bigger problems. I mean, it's better to, we at least solved the drum part. And then that was the first time, I think it's 2019 or something, we were going to the NAMM, and Paulo is like, I'll play bass. It's like, no,
It was supposed to be only one song. Only one.
That's how it always happens, man.
Yes, it's the agreement, right?
Yeah.
This, very prepared, very organized. It was a big plan. It was like, no, who's gonna play bass? No, well, I'll do it.
So it went from one song, and then it went to now several albums that you guys have.
Yeah. Started with one song, and then the pandemic came. I was in Amsterdam. I was like, you know what? Let's do the whole record. We're doing nothing. We're here sitting down, just go through the songs that I played. But you need to find somebody to play live for you. I'm not doing. Then again, I'm here.
Yeah, here you are. In fact, it's funny because we talked I guess it was a couple of years ago. You were out doing Sepultura, and Dieth got on a couple of dates, and we had this phone call. You guys had just been out, doing what startup bands do, what we all do. You're in a van and you're out playing clubs, sometimes to a full house, sometimes to a no house, because you're a brand new band, and it doesn't matter who's in it. It's brand new, and it's a different sound. It's new songs. So I really admired your work ethic to do that. And, we had discussed, I don't know, should Dieth and Cultura Tres do a tour? Should we play some shows, whatever? So as we often do, right? We talk about these things. But last year, what was it you were doing? Was it the 40th anniversary of Sepultura? It was kind of touted as maybe a bit of a farewell, right, Paulo?
Yes. We're still in the process of that. We started with the 40 years, but we're going to end with 42 years.
So it's a 2-year farewell.
Yeah.
So after 42,
will the 40th anniversary.
Will there be a reunion and then retire at 45? But it's going to be one of those. Or are you guys going to really be done?
There's no reunion in the plans. Just the four of us and some retirement.
There you go.
Kind of retirement, because then I have Cultura Tres to go in,
Yeah, have something different to do. So,
while David's away, I'll dive in here, Paulo. I was telling Paulo, I think you were one of the first like rock stars I ever met in my life, because in '94, you guys were out on tour with Pantera, but then Max had an issue, had to cancel a show here and there, and you were in Nashville, and you came out in the crowd for you did kind of a sweep through the crowd, and everybody kind of came up running at you and grabbing an autograph here and there. So I appreciate you coming out and signing some autographs back in '94.
Thank you. But sometimes I usually do that, walk around in the crowd and check it out from the front of the house perspective way. Sometimes it's boring to be on the side of the stage because you barely can see. Especially nowadays when a lot of people, most of the people were using the in-ears. So
yeah,
it's better often to go in the middle of the crowd and check the band.
Yeah, side stage these days is kind of pointless, because half the time you can't hear anything except for acoustic drums. You don't really hear the band at all.
That was the only awesome experience was with Rush. because when we watched them from the side in the rehearsal, we only could hear Newport, so it was perfect.
Nice.
So what was I going to ask? Oh yeah, so
The
tell
Juanes
us.
thing, I think.
Yeah, tell us about this collaboration, because obviously, Paulo, you're from Brazil. Alejandro, you're originally from Colombia. You guys common interest in Amsterdam, the bar, and your musical friendship. But you have this world music elements, and so you just did a really cool collaboration on the song "Cien." Fill us in on that.
Cien is like, the most unexpected collaboration a metal band could ever have. I was, we were really surprised because, for those who don't know, Juanes in the English speaking world, he's like, probably one of the most representative pop artists of Hispanic countries, right? And my mom was a fan of him. Like, we grew up with his tracks, with his songs. So it had nothing to do really with our sound, but it had a lot to do with the feeling about music. He's like the same essence. His lyrics are sometimes pointing out issues in society, especially South American issues. So it was surprising. We didn't expect it. It was quite, unexpected and spontaneous.
So was this the one time your mom was like excited for something you've done? You're like, Mom, I swear, like, he's on the track.
I think she would have been very proud because she really liked him.
And one is beside the type of music that he plays, and he's a metal guy. He's a rock guy. He's been a Sepultura fan for many years. When I met him the first time, we had this common friend that was working with him, a Brazilian friend of ours, and she invited me to meet him over dinner. I was like, dude, Juan wants to meet you. I was like, who? Because it's weird, but when you speak Portuguese and Spanish, there's a barrier in there, especially on the artists. And I didn't know who he was until I met him and started to talk to him about it. And then I started to research, and the guy he's huge in his world, and I was very happy to know that he was a big metal fan, a rock and roll fan, and the idea to invite him, I don't even remember now. It's like, well, we putting these songs together, and there was some Spanish lyrics, and I was like, I think I said, like, let's try to invite Juanes to collaborate. And, he had a gig in Amsterdam. We went over and saw him, and then we came to the dressing room, and we started to talk, and I think the idea came from that, basically.
Yeah, well, I normally, when you're in a dressing room and you're happy about a show, and he was showing us his signature. Fender made a Juanes signature guitar, and we were playing with his guitar, and and that enthusiasm, things like that normally come out in the dressing room talk, but it normally stays there. It's like oh yeah, we should do something together or whatever. But this one really, materialized, and it became something. I personally, being a South American of how to say Hispanic origin, I'm really proud to have him in one of our songs. It's really he's a symbol of our culture, in a way.
Mm-hmm. So the band's based in Amsterdam. Do you guys, and you've toured a bit across Europe and stuff, are you have you guys gone down to South America to do any shows? Is it connected down there yet with live shows?
Yeah, well, the band is at this point is having two bases. One is Amsterdam, as you mentioned, but the other one is Sao Paulo, because half of us is in Sao Paulo, half of us is in Amsterdam. So we've done some shows in Brazil. Yeah, last show is a double shift for Paulo.
Well, yeah, you guys played Bloodstock or something, right? Did you play Bloodstock or not Bloodstock? Summer Breeze, right? Did you play it?
Yeah.
So you did,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think you were there like the day or something before I was there with Overkill, I believe.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, that's
just-
right. That's right.
We
were
just
all
missed
boiling.
each other.
it was
Freaking
really,
hot, wasn't
really
it? Oh
warm.
my God. Yeah. It's one of those stages where like the sun is just blazing in your face, you know, and well into the late afternoon.
Yeah, that was the first time we had a show in Brazil. Actually, it was kind of a good way to start.
Yeah.
And yeah, well, even for me, I'm a Latino, but I was surprised about the warmth of the audience and how warm it was. So
Right.
I noticed that in a way, I kind of missed that, you know, playing in our continent.
Yeah.
So Paulo, is this we talked a little bit about it, obviously Sepultura kind of winding down. I mean, is this like where you're gonna kind of shift the focus to, or are you like kind of wanting to retire completely from music and do the bar thing? Like where are you at with kind of playing music right now?
Well, the idea is to concentrate a little bit more on the Cultura Tres and at the bar and my scuba diving skills. So that's the main goal.
Okay.
So we'll see. But
So
you
scuba
never
diving,
know,
where
'cause every time
do
that I
you
plan
scuba
something,
dive?
it changes.
Where do you
Sorry?
scuba dive? I gotta ask, where do you go?
The last time I was in Honduras, so in an island called Roatan.
Shit.
So Sepultura went to play and I flew in 10 days before
Yeah.
and I did a 10-day scuba dive. It was beautiful.
You know, when we were recording Rust in Peace, Dave Mustaine bought me a scuba diving course, right? So I could learn it because I'd been talking about doing it. And he gave it to me in the hallway of Rumbo Recording. I think it was sort of like an olive branch because we were, getting off drugs, trying to figure out how to connect and, and be friends and all that. And so he did. It was Patty. Is that what it is? P-A-D-I?
That is one of the operators, yes.
Yeah. So anyway, and the best memory serves, I don't even know if I ever used it. I finally did a sort of the beach course out in Hawaii one time, right? You go in the pool.
You walk in the water.
Yeah. You go in the pool, you learn how to clear the mask.
Yeah,
you go,
yeah.
God, this is a lot to think about. I remember kind of walking off the beach, going down, and the water's maybe 30, 40 feet. There's some treasure chests and some crap out there because it was.
That.
Yeah, it was like off of a hotel beach, but I was like going, dude, you could seriously die right here. Like, no problem. Not to mention blow your ears out or if you get the bands, but
I have some procedures to go, but it's a very relaxing once you get everything down. It's beautiful. I love it.
Relaxing, dude. I've seen these videos with sharks. You find that relaxing?
Oh, that's very relaxing.
You're already swimming with sharks in the music business. Why would they scare you under the water? Those are probably
True.
Right. You're right.
All right. So what's one of the, if you had like a gnarly scare with scuba diving, is there one time or something that would freak you out, like a close call, anything like that?
No, not really. So far, everything went good. Even with the experience in the cage and inside the cage in South Africa, everything. We had 3 great whites, but everything was smooth. They're very friendly.
Jeez,
David,
dude.
you got to go through your drawers back home and see if you can find that scuba diving coupon. That Mustaine.
Here it is. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I found it from 1990.
I can't wait for the. I can't wait for the blabbermouth headline. Dave Mustaine once bought David Ellefson scuba diving lessons.
Well, then I'm gonna have to call you up, Paulo, and we're gonna have to go scuba diving. So
anytime, just let me know. We can.
I guess you can't really scuba dive in Amsterdam, right? The water's too shallow, right?
It's too shallow, too dark. I did some those type of divings, but it was more like to complete the course, and it was like more how do you say testing, just to get graduated. But at the end, it's the best way is just to not too deep waters and crystal clear with good temperature, just to enjoy the marine life. That's the best way to do it.
So
not to go too crazy, too technical.
So
too much.
to graduate, are you saying like to become like an instructor or something like that? Are you like
No,
black
there's
belt
levels that
level kind of thing?
you can step in. Like there's
Yeah.
the basic, deep diving, rack diving. You keep going, and you start to find it interesting. As much as you learn, as more that you learn, you get more comfortable in
Yeah.
the water. So it's better. So
Yeah.
I just upgraded just to feel more confident and to feel better and to have a better dive. That's basically what it is.
Yeah. How cool, man. Wow. That is super, super cool.
But anytime you want, just let me know. If you're in Brazil, if you have some time, I can take you out. Yeah, for sure.
I would love to. Again, the hardest part for me was, I think, my ears. I mean, I go to the bottom of my swimming pool in Arizona, which isn't that deep, and my ears hurt. I'm like, how do people do this? How do they scuba dive? Because I remember that was one of the things, even in Hawaii when I did it, was my ears were hurting, and I was just going, oh my God, you get down to the bottom of like a 12-foot pool or something, and my ears were starting to feel the pressure, and I was going, man, I need these ears, and
Yeah. But you just learn how to equalize everything, and
Sure.
it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe you will become my instructor. Namaste.
There you go.
Yeah.
A scuba diving tour.
Exactly.
Scuba base.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to get when you tune into the podcast. You get scuba diving lessons at this point.
Yeah, I love it. Scuba diving with Paulo. Awesome. I love it, man. In exotic locations.
Paulo, anytime I've had anybody on my show or this show, we try to grab some stuff from the past, and you guys touring with Pantera for so long. Do you have a good dime bag story for me? Like I need, we're drank you under the table, took you out for a little too long, a little too many black tooths, anything like that?
Too many black tooth every night, basically. Those guys were great to tour with. You can ask Dave as well. I'm sure he had the chance to tour with them back then. And it was one of the best tours ever that we ever done. It was so much fun to be around them and to share the stage and to listen to very good music every night. So it was incredible. I had my bed on their buses, so we used to go crazy basically every night. So it was great times, good memories. Some of them I have on video, not all of them. Some of them.
You got to dust off those VHS tapes and get them out there.
I know. I need to fix all my gear first because all the cameras and the VCRs are broken because they're so old.
Right.
They don't want to play anymore. I need to get new ones to transfer everything. But I had a lot of stuff. Very, very cool stuff.
Well, and those guys would always make videos every day. Like we had them out on the Countdown to Extinction tour, right? And those guys every day, they lived on the bus, band and crew. They were saving their money. Obviously, they're on their way up, and they would make videos, and Dimebag would play. I remember put like Red Hot Chili Peppers under the bridge guitar part or something. Is like the bed track for this video, and I mean, just crazy, just like Jackass on steroids,
Yeah.
I've always said, man, I would have loved to have seen Dimebag in the social media age, like YouTube, TikTok, any of that stuff. Like he would have crushed,
Definitely.
Taking no shit from anybody, making fun of everybody. Yeah,
definitely.
Hey, Alejandro, one of the things when I was hanging there at your house, as we were going through the songs, so you, if you don't mind me saying, day job is working at doing audio for a television company in town, which I thought was very fascinating. And then your knowledge of the studio. You've got a studio there in your house, a full Pro Tools rig. And as we would open up the track and I would listen to what you were playing, Paulo, as I was learning your songs to go play at Bloodstock last year, a lot of really cool parts. And I really got to have a deep dive into your style. And, it's I've been thinking about this lately, learning learning songs for other people to, play their parts. And I shouldn't call them cover songs because you're maybe filling in like I did for you. It's just basically forgery, right? Because you're basically trying to learn how to write someone else's name, in their place. And, you're trying to learn the style of everything that they do, and I love, you and I grew up in similar musical genres. We both bass players, so there's a lot of similarities. But obviously, culturally, you're South America, I'm North America. There's just different things that we may have grown
I
up
gotta
on.
say, you guys are the two opposite ends of bass play.
I would say so.
And
I would
thrash
say
metal.
so.
I feel like blessed because I had heard what it does to the groove of the rest of the thing. You guys are really the two opposites, and it's fascinating. Both have complete different strong points, and it makes music really interesting in both ways. Like hearing these tracks in those two directions was fascinating for me as a producer, more than as a guitar player. I was really like, whoa, what it does to the groove. It's really incredible, the two takes, and both takes are basically the two extremes of thrash metal. You have a very fast pace, like a train, extremely percussive and an up-tempo approach of David, and you have this dragging, very low-endy, like making it sizey roots like Paulo, and I got the pleasure to hear you both playing the same tracks. It was really, really, really enlightening for me.
I would agree. I would say Paulo has this fuzzy, warm, organic tone. I grew up playing very clean, very, very. It's just. I don't know why I play like that. It just is what it is, right? So, and it was, and in fact, you guys have created one of the most inventive in-ears pedal board integrations that I've ever seen. Josh, you wouldn't believe this. It's like it was like a line out. We always carried our transmitter packs, right, and then your in-ears and stuff. But basically, I heard exactly Paulo's mix. So when I plugged in, I heard exactly what he had been hearing. And Alejandro, you're like this fucking electronic genius, like. And you probably don't even want to give it away because it's probably copyrighted or trademarked or somehow a patent on it.
Give us tricks away. No,
yeah.
Well, I think that every time that you get a challenge as a band, and the challenge involves like getting to do something with the resources that you have in front of you, you're gonna be finding ways, and that's what we've been doing. We want to have a big sound, but the band is a growing band. We're just starting. And it makes us be inventive, try to get there, and those in attempts to make it happen, to hear it like what we would like to hear of a band that has a 6 people crew, and then we have a 2 people crew, so we got to make it work, and then those inventions come. We have to solve it with technology, we have to solve it with inventive ways,
right? We played Signs last, right? Wasn't that the final song of the set? Man, What a great song. That is this epic-oriented song. It could be a soundtrack with such clever parts. And then this whole break, it's like, it just totally like goes off into another song at that point. And yeah, what a great way to end a festival set. I thought it was super, super great. And so I really was honored that you called me to do it. It was fun. Like I said, Paulo, to dig in and sort of, like I said, musical forgery, how to steal someone else's sort of signature as best you can. I'm learning some songs myself, for some other shows, and it's the same thing.
It's amazing to see it.
Yeah, you can sit and look. I go to Ultimate Guitar, wherever. I'll listen by ear, of course, but then we have resources, YouTube and things, Ultimate Guitar, but you can go and pull up manuscript, and I do, and I'll get things. Look, if I want, I can play it just spot on, because I can read music as well. But there comes also this thing where you go, I know that's what it says on paper, but what I'm feeling it is
right.
this. And I think, I don't know, Josh, do you do that too when you're learning stuff?
Yeah, you learn it Right. You learn it the right way, and then you play it how you want to play it. How about that?
But that was beautiful because that song, especially "Signs," is a song that it has a lot of inspiration from the kind of end of '80s thrash metal times when thrash metal was still taking things from classic rock. Like, let's say when Cliff Burton was around, and you have those majestic parts where they move into a more classic rock parts. So I knew that you were very familiar with that. You grew up with that. You're part of that movement,
Right.
So in that sense, I was just really enjoying my time seeing you interpret that way and getting it really from the source, right? Of course, we landed in very different places due to Paulo's craziness. I don't know. He doesn't tell, but he's an expert on screwing our guitar lines and then making us refigure guitar lines because that's what he felt. And then that sludgy part and everything, it gets us to certain places, and then other times the guitars pull back into kind of classic rock. So I could tell which parts were really native for you, and which parts were completely new to the format. So I could see sometimes, like, you see David like, this feels great, this feels easy, and then some other times like, what the hell was that? And so those choices.
And sometimes when you pull the stems up, and that's the beauty when you have the actual stems from the record, and you can sit down like we did in the room and really detail everything. You can really hear things, and of course sitting with you, Alejandro, one of the writers of the songs, with the guitar in hand. I've always said it's like, unless you were in the room when the song was being written and recorded, the closest you're ever really going to get to playing that is just some general interpretation, right? I watch people on YouTube, they're playing Holy Wars or Peace Cells and this stuff, and like the notes may be right, but there's a feel thing about it, right? And that's just what you can't replicate other than just being in the room. And I was glad I had those few days with you in Amsterdam there to really just deep dive. I wanted to. I had a few days before I think I was going to Australia with Kings of Thrash or something. And I was like, man, I need to lift up the hood and dig into this engine, man. This is a whole other world for me,
It was really a learning process, like I learned so much because, I got 32 of the iconic thrash metal bases of this world, which are completely different, and then I'm jamming with them and completely reacting to how they play. It was really a pleasure to see that, to see the interpretation. It's like, when you have a reggae guy and you let him play reggae, he's going to land it. It's never going to be the same from one player to another, but their interpretation is going to be fine and it's going to be good, and that's how I felt. It was great.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, Paulo, David and I were talking yesterday actually about the cavalcade of Sepultura drummers over the years, and obviously you being a part of the rhythm section.
Oh boy.
I mean, Sepultura drummers, just like like, I don't know what you guys are growing down there in Brazil, man, but even now with Grayson, but Eloy and Igor and everybody that's come through the ranks of Sepultura, man, have just been these amazing drummers. So, and it's going to make your life much easier, but kind of talk about just all those different drummers over the years and getting to play with such talented dudes.
Yeah, it's a privilege actually. We start very young. I really learned and absorbed what Igor was playing, so I got used to that.
Yeah.
And we grew up together, so I knew exactly how to listen, and whatever he was playing, I knew exactly how to through the years. Of course, took me a while to get in, and when there was a switch, and was before Jean came in, it was Roy Mayorga that filled in for us. So we had a very
Roy.
a great drummer. Very easy to click in with him. But sort of. But each one of them, takes a little while to really know them, because they have very particularly. It's very hard to describe. You have to play with them to really understand. It's readapting. Because like it was said, it's like the way that the interpretation of the song. So they, and we go through that, but I don't want to really tell them what to do, but it's just to really, emphasize the right parts of the music to make the bass and the drums work well, and the rest, feel free to do whatever. I'll just follow.
Nice.
Yeah, a buddy of mine a few years ago he loves watching drum cam videos of all different bands, and I'm not a big fan of that, but he was like, you got to check out Sepultura's drummer Aloy at the time, and I was like, Jesus Christ, like I've never seen a drummer play that fast and hit that hard.
Yeah,
and just to sit there and watch it, it's amazing, and I'm glad that it sucks for you guys losing Aloy, but it's crazy to see him in Slipknot and people really kind of getting a chance to really see that.
Yeah, but it's a different approach. Grayson as well is a great guy. He has a very jazzy, totally different approach. I'm still adapting, learning with him day by day. Aloy was in the band for 13 years. Took me a while to really, locked up with him. The easiest one, of course, was Igor because we grew up together, and then the other ones I had to readapt, and even the way of playing, just to make the Sepultura sound right. Each one is very unique and very has their own particularities. That's what makes the best of it, and that's why it's so nice. We've done some new recording with Grayson, and sounds amazing. Totally different approach. And it's like don't try to be that much metal. Just be yourself. Be a jazz player. Try to bring into the metal your own style, and you're gonna fly high, dude. Because he's amazing.
Yeah, how was it like kind of having a guy that, he's so young too. He's only like 23, 24 years old. So having to do that young, kind of running around the camp now.
Yeah, well, it's great, because gave us a new energy, and it's a way to exchange experience. Even that he's so young, he has his own experience that he can share with us. And to have the chance to be every day on stage, you learn more and more every day. So it's a great exchange, actually.
Nice.
So it's beautiful. Love it.
Yeah, I think the first time I met Grayson, I think we were in Ecuador, right? We were doing those. I was down there with Overkill. We were doing those festivals, and you came up and you introduced me, and I was like, I couldn't believe how young he was. I'm like, you're right. It's just about the time you think you've got like the greatest drummer ever. Somehow Sepultura finds another one, and it's like unbelievable. I don't know.
There's something about our drummers.
Yeah, exactly. You guys have a very good skill at that. So I guess, look, to wrap up here, so Paulo,
the only thing, but before we finish, the only thing I told Grace was like, don't try to party like we used to, because you cannot handle it. You're too young for that. Your generation is not like ours. You cannot handle.
You're too young, and there's too many cell phone cameras.
Don't do it.
So, someone wanted to ask you, Paulo, is, all the years in Sepultura, bands become what they are. You and Andreas, of course, musical brothers the whole time, right? And then you shift gears over into Cultura Tres. And, is there a freedom? Is there something liberating that's fun? Look forward to getting in the room with Cultura Tres. If for no other reason than it's just a different room to be in, and you've got now these two kind of musical playgrounds that you can go to, knowing that they're each a little bit different. Is that I would think that would be really fun to have.
No, definitely it's fun. It's a totally different vibe in a way, but first I have to be comfortable, as music wise and personally wise as well. So we get along, so that makes very easy. I stay with Alejandro every time that I go to Amsterdam, so we talk about music basically almost many hours a day. So makes easier, you know. And the fact is just I try to bring the experience that I have with Sepultura on Cultura Tres. Of course, I play a little bit different than I play in Sepultura, just to adapt to the Cultura Tres style. But you know, it's a learning experience day by day. You know, it's very nice, both in both camps. Different
And you have
approach.
a new drummer in Cultura Tres. I say new since last year, right?
Yeah, I think it's my scene to have the new drummers all the time.
Everywhere you go, you got a
It's,
new drummer to
it's,
play with.
it's Paulo.
Yeah,
I
man, I
think
have
it's
to. Yeah,
Paulo.
It's Paulo.
Figured it out.
It's
you got the
you.
problem.
It's you. It's Paulo.
We figured
No,
that out.
he's great. He's a great player. He's like it's like a guy that has very different tricks together. I never seen it in one drummer. Like he's extremely violent as a drummer. He can be really loud and like Dave Lombardo type of drumming. You know, let's say really powerful.
Yeah.
But he grooves like he plays with Michael Jackson. So he's got something very special going on for him. We just recently recorded the drums for the new album, and we were very impressed with that. He's got this dynamics, this swing that makes people dance, and he's extremely violent when he wants to. So that's very different. It's a different experience for me to have somebody that has the two tricks.
So when does the new album come out? Do you have like a timeline on new record?
Well, we're
2026?
busy.
Yeah.
We're busy with it. Like the things like we didn't want it to rush it, right? So we've recorded almost everything. Right now we're in the process of recording some little details here and there and mixing it. But we didn't want to rush it. We wanted to have like the best possible record that we could make. And then normally it takes time, but it seems to be that we're on schedule to have it ready. I mean, just the process of the production process, probably by the end of next month.
Wow, nice.
That we don't know when we're going to release. Then we have to figure out what's up.
Well, good. Well, we look forward to it. Josh always gets the outro question. What do you got for us, buddy?
It's awesome. They Pink Pop, the festival over there in Europe or whatever, they've recently released a bunch of 90s full concerts, you know, and their pro shot sound great, Faith No More, blah blah blah. They've put out a Sepultura one I watched the other day from the Roots tour, and you guys are, I mean, not that you're not hitting on all cylinders now, but it was, you know, Igor fucking crushing up there, you know, Paulo crushing, Andreas crushing, everybody's crushing, and I definitely sat down and watched that, and you know, just what a time to be alive.
Big Pop it was here in the Netherlands, so I arrived in the Netherlands the year after that show took place. So I'm really sad every time I see it. I'm like, 1 year difference. I could have witnesses that, and but I've heard many stories from my friends about that show because, of course, it's a Dutch legend show, and that was like they were co-headlining with Alanis Morissette from Imagine. So it was, you know, the Dutch are very good at mixing. I mean, now it happens more often, but back in the day, it was a rare thing to mix like very pop music, popular acts with heavy acts. And Sepultura, according to my Dutch friends, it was on the radio all the time, and it was just as popular as Alanis Morissette at the time. And I arrived the year after. I was really like, oh, we have witnessed that. Every time I see the video,
Timing is everything. All right, brothers. Well, look, thank you for joining us on the show. It's great. Best of luck now with the new album coming out, and be safe out there, Paulo, as you wrap up with Sepultura on the farewell. And we look forward to some new Cultura Tres, man. Looking forward to it. So
we're looking forward.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much for the time.
Appreciate it. Thanks,
you,
guys.
Thank you for inviting us.